The galaxy had known peace for centuries, but it was not real peace. It was silence born from fear. The Zarathian Empire ruled over 10,000 worlds. Their flag hung on every planet. Their fleets moved like shadows across the stars. No one dared to resist. Every species that ever tried to fight the Empire had been erased from history. Every rebellion ended in fire. Every voice that said no was silenced. To most, the Empire seemed eternal, unbreakable, untouchable, until one day, a strange signal appeared on the edge of known space. It came from a small blue planet, spinning quietly around an ordinary yellow sun, a world so far, so forgotten, that even the Empire's maps did not mark it. The signal repeated again and again on every Imperial channel. At first it sounded like static. Then the message became clear. "If you come to Earth," the voice said, calm and steady, "come ready to bleed." The words shocked the Imperial Command Center. No one had ever dared to send a message like that to the Empire, not in 1,000 years. The Emperor himself, sitting on his massive golden throne, laughed when he heard it. His laughter echoed through the great hall. "Some forgotten world dares to threaten us," he said. "How amusing! Send scouts. Find this Earth." Across the galaxy, a small Imperial scout fleet prepared for the journey. 3 cruisers, fully armed, carrying hundreds of soldiers. They believed it would be an easy mission, a short trip to destroy another weak planet. But as the ships entered the dark side of the galaxy, strange things began to happen. Their scanners glitched. Their communication faded. The stars themselves seemed to vanish behind thick clouds of dust. Then silence. For 3 days the Empire waited. No signal, no response. No ships returned. The Emperor grew impatient. "Send another fleet," he ordered. A stronger one. 5 warships left hyperspace and followed the same path. The commanders joked about the missing scouts. They expected to find wreckage, maybe a meteor strike. What they found instead was nothing. No wrecks, no signal, no trace of battle. Just an empty void, cold, silent, and endless. Then one of the ships detected a faint transmission. The crew gathered around the main screen. The image flickered with static. A human face appeared. The figure looked young, male with sharp eyes and dirt across his skin. His uniform was torn, but his voice was steady. "You shouldn't have come," he said. "We warned you." Before anyone could respond, the screen went black. The entire fleet disappeared moments later. Panic spread through the Imperial High Command. No one could explain what happened. The Emperor demanded answers, but the truth was simple. No one knew what humans were. There were no records, no history, no trade, nothing. How could a planet exist without being known to the Empire? The Imperial Science Division searched every archive. They found old, damaged data fragments, stories about a primitive species from the outer spiral. A world that had been left alone because it was too small to matter, but now that small world had erased 2 Imperial fleets. The Emperor's amusement was gone. He stared at the hologram of Earth, a blue and green world glowing in the dark. "This human race," he whispered. "What are they?" His war council offered theories. Some said humans use secret technology. Others said it was a trap, or maybe even a natural disaster. But deep down, everyone in that chamber felt something new. Fear. For the first time in centuries, the Empire felt fear. Days later, a transmission was detected again. Same coordinates, same voice. "If you come to Earth," the human repeated, "come ready to bleed." This time the message carried an image. A human army standing on ruined ground, holding weapons made from scrap metal and broken machines. Behind them the sky burned red, and their eyes glowed with determination. The Emperor's advisors begged him not to provoke them. But pride is louder than reason. "Prepare the armada," the Emperor ordered. "I will show these humans what it means to challenge the Empire." Across the galaxy, thousands of ships powered up. Massive engines roared. The stars themselves seemed to tremble as the great Imperial fleet began to move. But among the younger soldiers, whispers began to spread. Whispers of the humans, of the blue world that swallowed fleets, of the voice that warned them twice. Some said the humans had weapons beyond imagination. Others said they were demons in flesh. But one rumor spread faster than all, that humans didn't fight for empire or wealth. They fought because they refused to kneel, and when the Empire's ships reached the edge of the solar system, the scanners once again started to fail. The stars dimmed. The engines flickered, and out of the black came a single transmission. No voice, no face, only a simple text line. "Welcome to Earth." Then, the Imperial flagship's sensors detected hundreds of small signatures rising from behind the moon. Not alien ships, not machines they recognized, but human-built warcraft made from steel, rust and fire, each one powered by determination. And in that moment, the mighty Empire realized the truth. They had not found another weak species to conquer. They had found the one species in the galaxy that would never bow. The Imperial fleet arrived in the solar system like a moving storm. Thousands of warships, silver giants glowing with power, spread across the dark sky. Their weapons were strong enough to burn continents, and their commanders believed no world could survive their attack. At the center of the fleet floated the Emperor's flagship, the Dominion's Hand, a massive vessel so large it had its own gravity field. From its bridge, the Emperor watched Earth appear on the screen, small, blue, peaceful. "Beautiful," he said coldly. "A shame it will burn." But as the fleet approached, strange things began to happen. Their radar flickered. The navigation failed. Their communication signals began to echo back, distorted, as if someone was inside their systems watching. Admiral Tarek, the fleet commander, frowned. "Something's interfering with our sensors," he said. "Find the source." Moments later, the lead ship's engines exploded. The blast cut through the silence like thunder. "Sabotage," an officer shouted. "No," Tarek replied, eyes wide. "We're under attack." But there were no enemy ships in sight, just the blackness of space and the pale glow of Earth far below. Then, something small moved between the Imperial cruisers, fast, almost invisible. The scanners barely caught it before it vanished again. An asteroid? No, too fast. Before they could react, 3 more ships were hit, their systems collapsing one by one. The Emperor watched from his throne in disbelief. How can this be? "Show me the enemy!" Finally, the cameras locked onto something. A human ship, small and rough, built from mixed metals and strange angles. It looked nothing like the clean, perfect design of the Empire. It was ugly, but it was deadly. The human vessel Horizon 1 fired again, a single missile glowing with blue light. It hit a battleship's weak spot, breaking it apart in seconds. Inside the human ship, Commander Ilara Voss stood at the control station. Her face was tired, her eyes sharp. "Hit and fade," she ordered. "Don't give them a target." Her crew moved fast, controlling old machines with skill that came from desperation. They didn't have the Empire's power, but they had something better. Ingenuity. They used the Empire's own communication codes against them, turning their scanners blind, their engines weak. Back on the Imperial bridge, panic began to rise. "We can't lock on them, Admiral. They keep disappearing." Tarek clenched his fists. "They're playing with us." In a way, they were. Human ships were small, built for mining and transport, but humans had turned them into weapons. They used space debris as cover, solar flares to hide, and electromagnetic pulses to confuse enemy radar. It wasn't war by rules. It was war by survival. Within hours, the great Imperial fleet had lost a dozen ships. Not because humans were stronger, but because they were smarter. In orbit, one Imperial soldier whispered, "These creatures, they fight like they have nothing to lose." The truth was that they didn't. On Earth's surface, millions watched the sky burn. They knew what was coming. Cities had built underground bunkers. Scientists worked day and night. Soldiers trained using old weapons and new ideas. There were no kings, no empires, just humanity united by one purpose: survive. In a bunker under London, Commander Ilara spoke to her troops through a cracked monitor. "They think we're weak," she said. "They think we're just animals with sticks. But we'll show them what happens when you corner a species that refuses to die." Her words spread across every base, every ship, every fighter pilot listening from the dark. And soon, humanity struck again. A swarm of drones, small, silent, invisible, entered the Imperial fleet. They carried no explosives. Instead, they hacked into the ships, shutting down power, locking weapons, turning mighty cruisers into floating statues. One by one, the Empire's ships went dark. Admiral Tarek slammed his fist on the console. "Impossible! How can they breach our systems?" A young officer whispered, "They used our own signals. Against us." The Admiral froze. The realization hit him. Humans had learned from them in days what took the Empire centuries to build. The Emperor's face appeared on the command screen. "Tarek, destroy them now." "Your Majesty," the Admiral said, voice trembling. "We can't even see them." In that moment, another message came through, a voice echoing across every Imperial ship. It was human again, calm, confident, unafraid. "You came ready to conquer," the voice said. "We came ready to fight," the message ended. Then the stars lit up. Hundreds of human missiles, fired from hidden positions across the solar system, streaked toward the Imperial fleet. Explosions ripped through the black sky. Tarek ordered a retreat, but it was too late. Half the fleet was gone. The rest fled, dragging broken ships behind them. From his throne, the Emperor watched in silence. His pride burned hotter than any weapon. "The humans have wounded us," he said quietly. "But they will learn what it means to defy the Empire." Far away on Earth, Commander Ilara watched the same stars, her hands shaking from exhaustion. Her officer asked, "Did we win?" Ilara looked at the burning sky. "No," she said softly. "We survived. For now." And as the light of the explosions faded, every human on Earth knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would return, bigger, stronger, angrier. But humanity would be ready, because for the first time in galactic history, someone had fought back. The news spread faster than light. Across the stars, across 10,000 worlds, the whispers began. The Empire lost a war. For centuries, that had been impossible. The Zarathian Empire never lost. It crushed planets like dust, silenced rebellions in a day, and ruled the galaxy through terror. But now, the impossible had happened. A small blue world, unknown and forgotten, had forced the Emperor's fleet to retreat. At first, people didn't believe it. How could a planet with no record, no army, and no name in galactic archives defeat the mightiest force in history? But when images began to leak, Imperial warships burning, commanders missing, and a single human voice repeating, "We warned you," the galaxy realized the truth. The humans were real. And they were dangerous. On the Imperial capital, Vithara Prime, silence filled the throne hall. The Emperor stood before his generals. None dared to speak. "The First Fleet was defeated," the Emperor said slowly. "Explain." Admiral Tarek, pale and trembling, knelt before him. "Your Majesty, they are unlike anything we've faced. They fight without fear. They strike and vanish. They're machines, crude, yes, but clever." The Emperor's eyes glowed red with anger. "Are you saying the Empire is weak?" Tarek lowered his head. "No, my Emperor. I am saying they are human." The word human echoed through the chamber, strange and unfamiliar, like the name of a ghost. The Emperor turned to his council. "Then we will learn what they are. We will learn how they think, how they fight, and how they die." Weeks passed. Scouts, spies, and machines were sent to study Earth, but most never came back. The few that did brought strange reports. Humans did not live under one ruler. They argued, fought, and disagreed. Yet when threatened, they stood together as one. They had no empire, no divine king, no single faith, but they had unity born from survival. Their technology was limited, but their creativity made it powerful. They were unpredictable, emotional, and stubborn, and that made them terrifying. In the outer colonies of the Empire, small rebellions began to rise. Alien races that had lived in chains for centuries suddenly dared to whisper, "If humans can fight the Empire, maybe we can too." The Imperial governors crushed these uprisings quickly, but the idea had already spread. The Empire had built its power on the belief that resistance was useless. Now that belief was broken. Meanwhile, the Emperor summoned his most feared commander, General Varek the Unbroken. A warrior of 100 battles, his armor was covered in scars, and his name alone made planets surrender. The Emperor's voice echoed in the war chamber. "Varek, you will go to Earth, you will burn it to ashes. You will remind the galaxy who rules." Varek bowed, his voice calm. "As you command, my Emperor. But tell me, why do they fight so hard?" The Emperor smiled coldly. "Because they are fools who think they can win." Varek said nothing. But in his mind, a question remained. What kind of fools can defeat an Empire's fleet? Days later, Varek's warship, the Iron Star, arrived near the solar system. He expected chaos. He expected fear. Instead, he saw silence and traps. The moment his fleet entered human space, they were surrounded by old satellites and wrecked ships. But these weren't destroyed. They were part of a massive defense grid. "Sir," one of his officers said, "these wrecks are alive. They're transmitting." Before Varek could respond, the satellites turned and fired. Thousands of small missiles streaked through space like angry fireflies. The Iron Star shook violently. Shields flared. Alarms screamed. But even as his ships took damage, Varek couldn't help but admire the strategy. "These humans," he muttered. "They use trash like weapons." In the chaos, he saw something that made him pause. A small human vessel, half damaged, floating near the battlefield. Inside it, through the cracked hull, stood a human soldier, holding a rifle, staring directly at his ship. Varek ordered a ceasefire. "Bring him to me." The human was captured and brought aboard. He was young, maybe 30 years old, dirty, exhausted, but still standing tall. "What is your name?" Varek asked. "Lieutenant Mark Hale," the man replied. "You fought against us," Varek said. "You killed my soldiers." "Tell me why." "You must know you cannot win." Mark smiled faintly. "Maybe we can't, but that doesn't matter." "Doesn't matter." Varek frowned. "You fight a hopeless war for nothing." Mark shook his head. "Not for nothing. We fight so that one day no one else has to kneel." "Not us, not anyone." Varek was silent. He had crushed hundreds of rebellions, all begging for mercy, all screaming in fear. But this man, this human, spoke with calm defiance. "Do you fear death?" Varek asked. Mark looked him straight in the eyes. "Only if it comes before freedom." For a long time, Varek said nothing. Then he ordered the guards to release the man. "Go," he said quietly. "Tell your people General Varek is coming, and I will show them mercy if they surrender." Mark turned back with a small grin. "You don't know humans, do you? We don't surrender." When the human was gone, Varek stood alone on the bridge, watching Earth in the distance. Something inside him felt strange. Respect, maybe even doubt. He remembered the stories of the Empire's early days, when courage and honor mattered more than fear. But now the Empire ruled through terror. And these humans, these stubborn, reckless creatures, fought with something the Empire had long forgotten. Hope. On Earth, Commander Ilara Voss received the message, "General Varek is coming." She looked at the sky where stars shimmered like sparks before a storm. "Let him come," she said. "Let him see what it means to fight free people." And as the Empire prepared its greatest invasion, both sides knew one thing. The next battle wouldn't just decide Earth's fate. It would decide the soul of the galaxy. The war between humanity and the Empire had entered a new phase. For months, the skies around Earth burned with light and fire. Every day, Imperial fleets attacked, and every day they lost a little more. But the humans were not winning easily. Cities were gone, oceans scarred, and millions had fallen. Yet still the humans fought. And still, they refused to kneel. General Varek stood aboard his flagship, the Iron Star, watching the blue planet through the viewing window. The more he studied the humans, the more he understood them, and the less he understood his own empire. He remembered the human soldier, Lieutenant Mark Hale, whose words still echoed in his mind. "We fight so no one has to kneel." Those words haunted him. They reminded him of what the Empire used to be, before it became a machine of fear. The Emperor, however, was growing impatient. From his throne on Vathara Prime, he sent a direct message to Varek. "End this war, Varek," he said, his voice cold and sharp. "No more mercy. No more hesitation. Burn that world to ash." Varek bowed his head. "As you command, my Emperor." But when the signal ended, he stood in silence for a long time. He looked at his soldiers, young, loyal, afraid. And he asked himself a question he had never asked before. Are we the monsters here? On Earth, Commander Ilara Voss and her team were planning their boldest mission yet. A human engineer, Dr. Rowan Lee, had done the impossible. He had cracked part of the Empire's communication code. It meant that for the first time, humans could reach the heart of the Empire. Their plan was madness, to strike directly at the Emperor's throne world. Vathara Prime, the most guarded planet in the galaxy. Ilara looked at the small group of soldiers and scientists before her. "All our lives we've been defending," she said. "Now it's time to show them what humans do when we stop running." Her crew nodded. They knew they might not return, but that didn't matter, because this wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about showing the galaxy that even the smallest species could stand tall. Back on the Iron Star, Varek's fleet prepared for another assault. But when the sensors scanned Earth again, they detected something strange. A human ship leaving orbit, heading into deep space. "Should we pursue, General?" his officer asked. Varek hesitated. "No, let them go." His officer looked confused. "Sir?" Varek turned away. "Something tells me they're not running." He was right. That small ship, Horizon 2, carried Commander Ilara and her strike team. Their goal? Infiltrate the Imperial capital and disable the planetary defense grid, just long enough for the galaxy to see that the Empire could bleed. The journey was long and deadly. Human ships were not made for such distances. But Ilara's crew used stolen jump codes and hidden wormholes, scraps of knowledge taken from fallen Imperial ships. They arrived at the edge of Vathara Prime, unseen. From orbit, the capital world was terrifying. A planet of gold towers and dark oceans, covered in energy shields and weapons, a monument to power, a symbol of fear. But Ilara didn't hesitate. "Let's make some noise," she said. The human ship disguised its signal as a broken Imperial vessel. It slipped through the defense network, landing on a cold, metallic plateau near the Emperor's palace. The team moved quickly, planting explosives and hacking into the shield generators. Dr. Lee worked furiously, hands shaking. "I can open a breach, maybe 30 seconds. That's all we need," Ilara replied. Meanwhile, on the Iron Star, General Varek received strange reports. Unidentified energy spike inside the Imperial capital. "What? That's impossible," Varek said, moving toward the screen. He recognized the signal instantly. It was human. Varek's heart raced. They're attacking the Emperor himself. He should have felt anger. Instead, he felt pride. "Prepare for warp jump," he ordered suddenly. His crew stared at him. "General?" "That's treason." Varek turned toward them, eyes burning. "So be it." On Vathara Prime, alarms screamed across the palace. Guards rushed through golden halls. Ilara and her team were cornered, fighting their way toward the shield core. Blaster fire filled the air. One by one, her soldiers fell, buying seconds for the mission. Dr. Lee shouted, "The core is open, now!" Ilara ran forward, placing the final detonator. Before she could escape, an explosion threw her to the ground. She coughed, blood on her lips, but the device was active above the city. The great planetary shield flickered, then fell. For the first time in galactic history, the Emperor's throne world was exposed. Just then, the Iron Star appeared in orbit. The Emperor's guards shouted over the comms, "General Varek!" "You are disobeying orders." Varek ignored them. He looked down at the glowing planet below. "Open a broadcast," he said. His image appeared across the Empire's networks, seen by billions of citizens, soldiers, and slaves. "I am General Varek," he said, his voice calm and steady. "And I have seen the truth. The Empire has ruled through fear, but fear is not strength. Today I stand with those who still remember courage." The Emperor's voice roared through the speakers. "Traitor! You dare defy me?" Varek looked up. "I do not kneel, and not to you." He turned to his crew. "Fire!" The Iron Star unleashed its weapons, not at Earth, not at humanity, but at the Emperor's palace itself. The explosion shook the galaxy. For the first time, the Emperor's world burned. On the surface, Commander Ilara opened her eyes, seeing the sky split with fire. She whispered weakly, "Varek, you did it." In that moment, the galaxy realized something had changed forever. An empire that had never known fear now felt it. And the humans, the species once forgotten, had lit the fire of rebellion. Far away on Earth, the people watched the transmission of Varek's speech. Children, soldiers, workers, men all smiled, because they knew this wasn't just a victory. It was the turning point. The Emperor's world burned. Flames rose across the golden towers of Vathara Prime, and the galaxy watched in silence. For the first time in history, the Empire, the unbreakable, eternal Empire, had been struck at its heart. The broadcast of General Varek's defiance spread across every star system. On planets once ruled by fear, slaves stopped working. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Entire worlds froze, staring at their screens. And for a single moment, the galaxy stood still. In the chaos above Vathara Prime, the Iron Star floated among the wreckage. Smoke filled its corridors. Fires raged across the decks. General Varek stood on the bridge, wounded but alive. He had betrayed his emperor. He had attacked the very symbol of the Empire's power, but he felt no regret. He watched the flames below and whispered, "Maybe now. They'll understand what it means to be free." His officer turned toward him, eyes wide. "General, Imperial reinforcements are coming." "Thousands of ships." Varek nodded slowly. "Then we fight until the end." Far below, Commander Ilara Voss and her remaining soldiers were still alive among the ruins. The palace had collapsed, but the humans had achieved their mission. The shield was gone, the Emperor exposed. Ilara's communicator crackled. "Commander," said a weak voice. It was Dr. Rowan Lee, half buried under metal debris. "Ilara, we did it." The signal went through. Every colony, every system, they saw it. Ilara smiled weakly. "Then the galaxy knows the truth." She looked up at the burning sky. "The Empire bleeds." Across the stars, revolutions began. On the mining world of Karnis, slaves rose against their masters, shouting the words they had heard from the humans. "We don't kneel." On the frozen planet Draxia, Imperial soldiers refused to fire on protesters. And on the jungle world Serath, an entire city declared independence, raising a new flag, a blue circle with a white star, the symbol of humanity. The Empire's chains were breaking, one world at a time, but the Emperor was not dead. In the heart of his palace, beneath the rubble and smoke, he rose from the ashes and furious, unstoppable. His eyes glowed like molten fire. His voice thundered through every remaining Imperial ship. "They dare to defy me? They dare to betray the throne?" He activated a secret weapon, a massive orbital cannon hidden deep within the planet's core. Its power could destroy an entire star system. He spoke through the comms to every ship, his rage echoing, "If I must burn the galaxy to remind them who rules, then so be it." The cannon began to charge. The ground shook. Lightning tore through the sky. In orbit, General Varek saw it happening. His crew looked at him in horror. "Sir, the core weapon, it's activating. It'll destroy everything." Varek's eyes narrowed. "Then we stop it." He turned to his officers. "Prepare for ramming speed. Target the cannon's core." "Sir, that's suicide." "I know," Varek said calmly. "But if humanity taught me one thing, it's that some fights are worth dying for." He placed his hand on the console, eyes fixed on the glowing planet below. "For the free." The iron star roared forward, engines burning bright. Down below, Ilara watched the sky blaze with light. She realized what Varek was doing. She whispered softly, "You stubborn, brave fool." The massive ship struck the cannon just as it fired. The explosion was so bright that it turned night into day. The shockwave tore through the clouds, shattering mountains and silencing the Emperor's voice forever. When the light faded, the throne world of the Empire, once the heart of darkness, was gone. Hours later, quiet filled the galaxy. No commands, no threats. The Emperor was dead. The Empire had fallen. On Earth, billions watched the final transmission, Varek's last words recorded before his death. "Power means nothing without honor. Fear means nothing without respect. Remember the humans. They fought not for conquest but for freedom. Be like them." His voice faded, leaving only static, and in that silence something beautiful happened. World by world the people began to rise, not in war, but in hope. Former slaves became leaders. Former enemies became allies. The galaxy started to rebuild, not under one ruler, but together. Humanity refused to take the Emperor's place. They did not build a new empire. They built something different, a coalition of free worlds, where every voice could speak. Ilara Voss became one of its founders. Dr. Rowan Lee became its first ambassador. And when the first meeting of the new council began, the hall was filled with beings from hundreds of worlds. No one bowed. No one knelt. Ilara stood and spoke simply. "The galaxy bowed before the Empire, but not before us, not before the humans, because we never wanted to rule. We only wanted to be free." That day became known across the stars as the day the galaxy stood still. The day when silence no longer meant fear, but respect. Children on distant planets grew up hearing the story of Earth, the small blue world that dared to fight back. And every year when they looked up at the night sky, they whispered the same words the humans once said, "We don't kneel," because freedom had a name now. It wasn't the Empire. It wasn't power. It was humanity. The end.